Interestingly, some of the downsides of trade are also the upsides of trade. That trade is by its nature disruptive. And the idea is that you are going to change patterns of consumption and production and supply chains. So that's why trade can have impacts, obviously, on workers who lose their jobs, on communities that might lose a central industry or sector. But if we don't do it right, if we don't get the rules of trade right, it can also have a lot of downward pressure on wages for working people. It can also have a deregulatory impact, depending on how we craft trade agreements. I think it's really important that when we craft trade agreements, when the government negotiates trade agreements, we take into account what it is that we are ultimately trying to achieve. That trade is not an end in and of itself, but when we negotiate a trade agreement, what we're doing is really negotiating the acceptable terms of competition. We are defining the terms of competition between two sovereign nations, and that can include different regulatory regimes, different labor market institutions, different political systems. My argument would be that in the past, we have negotiated trade agreements too much for the benefit and the profit and the convenience of multinational corporations, and we have not given enough attention to the impact on workers and communities. So I would turn that upside down, and I would take a trade agreement as an opportunity to engage with other countries over the things that we as a country see as values and as priorities. But I think we can't leave labor and environmental standards and protections as the last thing we negotiated. We have to put our social concerns and the impacts on communities as one of our top priorities, not the last thing.